because my mom is a good lunch packer. In fact, my mom packed my lunch today. Now, most kids, when they're given a lunch, it's in a smaller brown bag. But I, being the big kid in the class, always came with a bag like this. And well, let's just take a look and see what my mom packed for me today. Of course, peanut butter and jelly. Then, of course, the pop in the foil. The magic foil that was somehow supposed to keep the pop cold till lunchtime. Do you remember that? It was magic. Was your pop ever cold? Then, of course, the Rice Krispie treat, and yes, my mother would have actually made the Rice Krispie treat. And then this is where it got a little difficult, because there would never be a small bag of potato chips. There would always be an extra large bag of potato chips in my lunch sack. And then, of course, there would always be an extra sandwich. There would always be the extra magic Coke. There would always be a half a pan of Rice Krispie treats. And then there would always be the magic envelope. Let's see what's in it. $1. 50. Oh, wait. $1. 50. I never, ever went on a field trip with just one sandwich and one bag of chips and $1.50. There was always more. And you know what? As I recall my experiences growing up, I never, ever brought home a sandwich or $1.50. Now, my mom and dad didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up, though I was the youngest, so I did a little better than my siblings. They didn't have a lot to be giving away. But my mother would have never dreamed of making me a field trip lunch without making an extra one for someone else. It was just part of her plan. It was just my mom. It was just what she did. And yes, it did just embarrass the heck out of me when I had to bring the big bag. But as an adult, I must say now, I give God thanks for my mom and for her vision. Because inevitably, you know, there was somebody who came to that field trip. I can't tell you who they are, but they didn't have the sandwich, and they didn't have the tin-foiled Coke, and they didn't have chips, and they didn't have what they needed for a rich, full day. And my mom made sure they did. Now, if you notice, our scripture text ended today that there were 5,000 men. And they didn't have enough to eat. My mom clearly was not on the mountainside that day, and it was a bunch of men who probably did not plan ahead, or maybe they did, for the meal that they were going to share in. We have all heard this scripture text before. We have all heard about the feeding of the 5,000. There's another story, feeding of the 4,000. I have to say that I believe that Avon Christian Church gets a little bit of this miracle making in a very real way. And if you were here yesterday, or if you were in Plainfield yesterday, you would have witnessed that yourselves. There were people who had worked hard all week, who had lots of different situations going on in their life, members of this congregation, who stopped and said, I am called to have love and compassion for others. Jesus has given me so much, I can't help but share with others. And they gave their time, their talents, and their energy to transform this world. And I have to tell you, it's amazing to witness God at work through people like you and me. The day started for us, Will and I, when we arrived here at about 8:30 to close more little kids' clothes than I've ever seen in one fellowship hall ever. Stack upon stack on stack of clothing items, good clothes. And soon at about 9 o'clock, Laura Faust headed this up. In started walking people, some who spoke English, others who didn't speak English. And in walked these little people who saw these clothes, and their eyes lit up. And they were so excited as they went into the bathroom and they tried them on. And suddenly a pair of your old sweatpants became the possibility for a new world, a new year for some little being. You should have seen these kids leaving here yesterday. If you were here, you did see it. With bags filled with clothing. Because we have more than enough. People who didn't even speak the same language were so thankful. I watched those kids look at Laura and thank her. From here, we made our way to Plainfield, and this was a real miracle. I think I've shared with others before that Will Craighead, my husband, does not know the difference between a hammer and a wrench. So we arrived in Plainfield, and I said, "Here, Dan, is Will." And I left immediately. In Plainfield at the Habitat for Humanity, the Hendricks County Habitat for Humanity, gathered men and women from Avon Christian Church along with some other folks. A number of those people, if you remember, were here just a week ago sharing their experiences, and they were tired because they were in New Orleans working in the midst of the heat for a whole week. And the first day that they get off, after coming back from a week in New Orleans, they decide to spend in a Habitat for Humanity project in Plainfield. And if that wasn't bad enough, I brought them Will. People gathered, and some people had real skill, and other people were Will, and other people had different kinds of skills. And what's so amazing is because they were willing to come to Jesus and say, "This is what I got, Jesus." Jesus took what they had, multiplied it, and is building a house. I believe what I learned from this text is that when someone comes to me and needs love and compassion, I need to share love and compassion. And if I am tired, if I am overwhelmed, if I do not know what's next, Jesus will give me what I need to make it through that circumstance. Jesus gives you what you need. And what's so amazing is if you give all that you have, be it a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, Jesus will multiply that so that others will be fed. That's why we're here. That's why Jesus came. So that we might share this abundant, amazing love in this world. We hope you enjoyed this sermon. Please join us next Sunday, July 26th, for a special service at 10 a.m. here at Avon Christian Church for the healing of the nations. We'll see you then.